I am the vicious female supporting character in a domineering CEO novel. I had coveted the male lead for years, and even resorted to drugging him only to end up through a cruel twist of fate. As the villain's wife, I used every trick in the book to frame the female lead only to be abandoned by my family and thrown out of the house, dying miserably on the streets. But I awakened. Good news, I can stay away from the plot. Bad news, my awakening seems to have come at the wrong time when I drug Sue. Whamming some fragments suddenly flashed through my mind. It turned out I was the vicious supporting female character, a wealthy eyes in a domineering CEO novel who loved the male lead but could never have him and kept sabotaging the male and female leads. Sue Wang is the male protagonist of this book. Sue Wang and I grew up together as childhood sweethearts. At a young age, I fell head over heels for him. I became irresistibly drawn to him. The Juan and Sue families were both prominent and influential clans, equally matched in strength. The elders also turned a blind eye to my relentless pursuit of Sue Wang. It was only a matter of time before the two families were joined in marriage. But just then, Sue Wang fell in love with Rao Jia, the innocent white flower heroine who had just joined the company. The female lead comes from an ordinary family and has an unremarkable appearance. Her gentle, unpretentious personality won her Sue Whamming special regard. Blinded by jealousy, I tried every possible means to sabotage their relationship. Even after later becoming the male lead sister-in-law, I still coveted him. After my repeated acts of self-destruction, I was finally despised by my family and driven out of the house. Penniless and wandering the streets before dying, I was still clutching tightly to half a meat bun I had snatched from a stray dog's mouth. What kind of hellish nonsense did someone write? Even if I'm down on my luck, I won't stoop to snatching food from a dog's mouth. Three-legged toads are hard to find, but two-legged men are everywhere. Thinking of the miserable aftermath, I couldn't help shivering. By this point, the plot had reached the stage where I loved the male lead but couldn't have him. She wanted to drug him into having sex, forcing the two families into marriage. But unexpectedly, she went into the wrong room. The drugged water was accidentally drunk by the male lead's older brother. A scandalous night. After the elder in the family found out, they were completely in the dark and forced us into marriage. The sound of flowing water came from the bathroom. I let out a long breath. Thank goodness I made it in time. I was bending over, just about to slip away, quietly. Miss Juan, what brings you here so late at night? An abrupt male voice rang out. I froze completely, and the air was thick with unbearable embarrassment. Along with me grew the book's biggest villain boss, Susiron, the eldest son of the Sue family, the male lead's half-brother. When Sue Shiren was 3, Madame Sue suffered a sudden illness and passed away after treatment proved ineffective in wealthy families. Relationships are mostly bound by interests. Less than half a year later, Mr. Sue married a new wife. In the second year, Sue Wang was born. Sue Shiren had a refined and handsome appearance, standing out among a group of wealthy heirs in the circle who only knew how to indulge in wine, women, and raillery, and were utterly unruly. He was outstanding, gentle, and modest, a favored son of heaven. He was the highly promising younger generation in the eyes of all the elders. But only I knew this person had a cold and sinister personality, was vengeful and unforgiving, and had a ruthless style of doing things. Sushi came out of the bathroom. A bath towel was wrapped around his lower body, his toned chest exposed to the air. His slightly tousled black hair was still damp, and the droplets at the ends dripped onto his collarbone, slowly tracing down the lines of his body over his chest and abs, and finally disappearing into the bath towel around his waist. I froze on the spot, staring at him blankly. It took me quite a while to react, and I only felt the temperature around me suddenly rise. Blood rushed to my head, and I didn't need to think to know how red my face must be right now. I hurriedly averted my eyes, was rambling incoherently. Not I. He walked toward me at an unhurried pace, stopping in front of me. He slightly lowered his head, and his warm breath brushed against the side of my face. An ambiguous atmosphere itself between the two of us. Miss Juan wants to spend a spring night with me. I would be more than willing, so there's no need to go to such elaborate lengths. The voice was hoarse, yet it seemed to carry a hook that could bewitch the heart. We were standing far too close. The arteries in his neck were clearly visible. His atoms apple-bobbed up and down, and his chest rose and fell slightly. I was panicked and at a loss, unsure how to explain myself for a moment. I looked up and met his dark, unreadable eyes and gave a bitter smile. Mr. Su, I'm sorry. I walked into the wrong room and disturbed you. I'll leave right away. A faint laugh came from his chest. Oh, is that so? Miss Juan, did you really find the wrong room? Or did you find the wrong person? I'm about to cry. He moved closer and closer. Frightened, I tried to shrink back, but a large hand wrapped around my waist. He whispered in my ear, Miss Nguyen, why not give me a try? I'm no worse than my younger brother. My heart was pounding violently, and my scalp tingled. How did he know? Sushi took one of my hands and pressed it against his broad chest. The warm touch made me feel as if I could sense the beating of his heart inside his chest. A tight set of abs below. My ears were about to burn up, and a ringing filled the air around me as my adrenaline spiked. In the end, my hand was placed on the loosely wrapped bath towel at his waist. The bath towel fell to the floor. I pushed him away and fled the scene in a panic. It took a long time before my frantic emotions finally calmed down. I wandered aimlessly down the street. Everything around me suddenly felt utterly strange, like a marionette, unable to control its own actions. The author manipulates my words and deeds. Having already had my ending, they watch the story unfold at their leisure, occasionally tossing out a few insults or complaints at me. In the end, I go offline in misery. Everyone applauds and cheers. But I have awakened. I don't want to be a puppet anymore. I want to live. Su Wang's social media account uploaded a photo. It was of him and Rao Jia. The two were holding hands with the female lead leaning into Su Wang's arms. A dense, aching pain spread through her chest, and it felt as if something were lodged in her throat, making it hard to swallow. It was the lingering feelings for the male lead still playing tricks on her. I suppressed the discomfort in my heart and logged out of the social app. I dialed a number. It took a long time before the other person answered. What trouble have you caused again? Waning. Can't you just give me some peace? I am Buse. I don't have time to clean up your mess before I could even speak. The other side struck first, their tone extremely impatient. Brother, I want to work at the company. The other person remained silent for a long time, and I hurriedly said, I've been out of school for more than 2 years now. I can't keep being idle forever. He cut me off as if he had just heard a joke. Now you're bored and want to come here and wreck the company. What can you do if you come in? The company needs capable people, not decorative figures. I retorted, I'm serious. If you don't know how, you can learn. Even though I was a supporting female character, but I have been strong-willed since childhood, so my abilities are naturally not bad. No matter how nicely I pleaded, he still refused to let me join the company. In my original memories, he was always putting me down and criticizing my faults. I paused for a moment, then suddenly said, the family hasn't given me any shares in the company, and I'm not going to threaten your position. I just want to join the company. What exactly are you resisting me for? My older brother was my parents' proudest child, but he was too arrogant, having inherited our father's coldness and detachment. Even in front of me, his own younger sister, he treated everyone the same. His voice suddenly rose. Don't talk nonsense with your abilities. You can still threaten me. You're always imagining things all day long. In any case, I don't agree. Coming to the company won't help me. The company doesn't have any hiring plans for the time being. I still have a meeting. Don't call me unless there's something important. The call was ended. I dialed my parents' numbers again, but as expected, no one answered. I sat dazed on a lounge chair, looking out at the bustling, lively street, isolated and helpless. A sense of powerlessness spread through my whole body. At this moment, it felt as if I had been abandoned by the world. Friends from the industry were gathering at the bar. When I arrived, I happened to catch the most exciting scene. A girl was sitting in Su Wing's lap. It was the female lead, Raoya. The crowd erupted in cheers nonstop. Ra just shyly and reluctantly turned her head away, but Sui Ming wrapped an arm forcefully around her waist, pulling them even closer. Su Wang picked up a glass of champagne and drained it in one gulp, then lowered his head to kiss her. The cheers grew even louder. Rao Jia looked at Su Wang with her eyes brimming with affection, a flush rising on her cheeks. Su Wang lounged lazily against the sofa, a slight smile playing at the corners of his lips, his gaze passing through the crowd filled with mockery. When everyone turned around and saw it was me, they instantly quieted down. My liking for Su Wang has never been much of a secret in the circle. I once disregarded my own status and did many foolish things for him, causing quite a few jokes and embarrassments over the years. There were plenty of girls around swarming until he met the female lead. The arrogant young heir encountered true love. The prodigal son has mended his ways and settled down. The room was thick with awkwardness, with all eyes gathered on me. I paid no attention and sat down beside my friend as if nothing had happened. I originally wanted to create an opportunity for you, but who would have thought he brought that woman along? Too, a friend leaned in and explained to me, and I waved it off, showing that I didn't care. After half a month of self-reflection and emotional adjustment, I gradually accepted the fact the romantic development between the male and female leads had nothing to do with me at all. My indifference, instead, made him feel uneasy. He coughed lightly and said, solemnly, waning, "The person I like is Jia. I advise you not to waste your effort. I could never marry you." During this period, the Ruan and Su families had frequent business dealings. My mother subtly inquired about my current relationship status. She hinted both directly and indirectly that the family was planning a marriage alliance with the Su family. My parents were still weighing their options between Su Wang and Su Shiren. Su Wang was the only child of the Su patriarch and his current wife. If the one family chooses suing, it is essentially the same as indirectly securing cooperation from his mother's family. Even Swaming thought that I couldn't do without him. "Don't worry, I'm no longer interested in you." Su Wing's expression turned completely cold. How strange. Shouldn't he be happy that I'd finally stopped clinging to him? I hope so. Eroya, standing nearby, looked a little uneasy. She tightly looped her arms around Su Wing's arm, as if declaring ownership. "Miss Wuan, I know you've liked Weiming for many years, but feelings require mutual affection. A one-sided, determined pursuit will ultimately lead nowhere. I hope you'll grant us your blessing and stop entangling yourself with Wamming." I couldn't help but chuckle softly and looked at her. I've always been a rule breaker, and even if I no longer entangle myself with the male and female leads, I won't let anyone look down on me or step all over me so casually. "Miss Ralph, since I walked in until now, which of your eyes saw me clinging to Su Wang, refusing to let go?" I glanced at Su Wang and deliberately said, "Even if the two of us have no feelings for each other, the Ruan and Su families are going to join through marriage, and Su Wang is very likely to become my future husband. What right do you have to say that to me?" Su Shiran and Suing did not have a good relationship. The Su family's assets were enormous, and Mrs. Su had always been wary of Su Shiran. Su Shiran had been outstanding since childhood, and he was the eldest. So, if Swaming can marry me, it would undoubtedly be the greatest help for him to become the future heir of the Su family business. Ruaning, Don Titi go too far, enraged. Swaiming slammed his glass heavily onto the table and tightly grabbed Rao Jia's hand. Looking utterly protective, the wine in the glass shimmered amber in the lamplight. I looked up and asked him, "Am I not telling the truth, even without me? Do you think Annie would approve of her? If you really have the ability, then go persuade Uncle and Auntie. Don't act almighty in front of me." Are Jia's face turned pale. Clearly, she also knew that with her family background, she was in no way a match for Su Wang. So, in the book, their relationship went through many twists and turns, and their path together was full of hardship and obstacles. Su Wang exploded in fury and gritted his teeth, saying, "You think I don't know it was you who badmouthed Judah in front of my parents, making things worse, even if my mom and dad like you that much. I could never like a woman as arrogant and overbearing as you. The others in the room didn't dare say a word. My tone was utterly indifferent. It was my mistake to have liked you before. Sorry, I must have been blind. Don't worry, I will never bother you again. Who cares about him as if he really thinks he's something special? Soon Wyming's face darkened and the tension in the room grew even more intense. He was about to say something else, but Rao Jia was afraid he might do something rash under the influence of alcohol. So, she quickly dragged him away. Others couldn't see the gossip either, and found excuses to slip away. Seeing that I was in a bad mood, my friend waved over a few fresh-faced young guys. Looking at these boys who were handsome and knew how to please people, I couldn't help but scorn myself. How had I been so stubborn before, hanging myself on Sue Whamming that crooked tree? I had originally come out for a walk to clear my mind, only to run into the male and female leads, which made me even more irritated after standing there. For a while, I got up and left. The corridor was dimly lit. Just as I reached the corner, a hand pulled me into a dim room. Before I could even react, a torrent of kisses came crashing down on me, carrying a hint of alcohol. Our lips and teeth intertwined. I pushed with all my strength, but I was held even tighter. The air around us grew thinner and thinner, and I bit down hard on his lips. He cried out in pain and let go of me. Smack! I slapped him across the face with perfect accuracy. The man was not angry. Instead, he snorted with a laugh. The pat of his thumb gently stroked my face. Xiaoying is so heartless. You abandoned me and ran off that day, leaving me to spend the night alone in an empty room. In the dim, quiet space, one could not make out a face and could only vaguely glimpse a sliver of the outside clamor through the crack in the door. The sticky, syrupy tone instantly gave me goosebumps all over. The deep voice brushed past my ear. Oh no, I should call you sister. Is that what that boy just called you? I pushed him away and wiped the blood from my lips. Susiron, that's enough. In the original book, after marrying Su Shiren, I still wasn't willing to let go outwardly. He was still the Su family's humble, courteous eldest son with an immeasurable future at home. No matter how hysterical I became and how much I kicked up a fuss, he could always act as if he saw nothing. Or rather, from beginning to end, I was the only one resisting this marriage. In the 3 years since we got married, I had seen different sides of Su Shiren, ruthless and unruly, steady and mature, gentle and refined, but I had never seen him so frivolous. Recently, Rin Sachuchio has been contacting your family frequently, desperately trying to arrange your marriage to Su Weiing. Unfortunately, Su Weiing guards the little white flower beside him tightly, and not long ago, he even went so far as to have a huge fight with Renukio. I frowned and said, nothing Su Shiren would never waste. His thoughts on boring people or matters coming to me must mean nothing good. Miss Wan is a pampered young lady from a wealthy family. Could she really tolerate her future husband keeping a mistress outside? I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could very clearly feel a scorching gaze falling on me. I have always kept myself clean and disciplined, so I won't have these troubles. On the contrary, I can give you what you want. Since this is a marriage alliance, why don't you consider me? Miss Huan, he wants to use me to disgust Madame Su. I hate it most when people use me as a pawn. I have liked swarming for many years with our elders arranging us together. I'm thrilled beyond words. How could I possibly refuse? How much sincerity and pretense, how much entanglement of interests is mixed into a marriage alliance between wealthy families. Su Weiing is not a good match, and Su Shiren is even less so. I wouldn't choose either of them, just some women who don't belong on the stage. I don't care what scheme President Wan is up to. Sorry, I'm not interested. President Sue, you'd better not go to so much trouble. A faint cry from a friend came from outside the door. My hand rested on the door latch as I pulled the door open. The light from the hallway slanted across half of his face, flickering in and out of light. He looked unfathomably mysterious. I said solemnly, I'm not interested in the tangled business between you brothers. So, Mr. Su, please don't come and bother me. He lifted his hand and tucked the hair on both sides of my face behind my ears, his scorching breath falling on my collar. I gave a slight, uncomfortable shiver. He smiled, his voice deep and mellow. It's fine if you refuse me now. Showing. You can think about it carefully. I'm really looking forward to our cooperation. I don't even trust the punctuation in Sue Shiren's words. He has always looked down on me, especially after I started liking Sue Weighing in the original book. Apart from the first accident, we never became intimate again after marriage. He regarded me as if I were a snake or a scorpion and kept far away from me, often not coming home for 10 days or half a month. In business, Sushi was highly ambitious and willing to bend for the sake of profit. His sudden change made me have to stay on guard. The marriage alliance between the Wan and Sue families quickly spread. Everyone outside was speculating which of the Sue brothers would become the Wan family's perfect son-in-law. You still have the mood to eat here. They've already climbed over your head. I was savoring the desserts in the corner when my friend snatched the plate from my hand. The news that your two families are about to marry has been spreading like wildfire lately, and everyone's guessing the male lead must be Sue Wamming after the last unpleasant incident you caused at the bar. Do you think Swamming would agree? She pinched my arm. I hissed in pain. Shoo, easier, miss. Where did your authority go? They've already come to provoke you at your doorstep. How many people are waiting to laugh at you now? Tonight's banquet is a charity auction with prominent figures and powerful elites from all walks of life in attendance. He's the one who lost the Sue family's face. What does that have to do with me? Sue Shiren's position in the company became increasingly secure since marrying into the Sue family. Renuccio had never taken kindly to this stepson, but she was helpless in the face of the Sue elders' protection of Sue Shiren and could not do anything to him openly. She had endured in silence for many years. Born into a prominent family, she had always held herself above others. My family is the only wealthy family in the entire Haitian city that can stand alongside the Sue family. In fact, I was not the daughter-in-law most suited to Renuccio's eyes. She wanted my family's help. Yet, she despised my spoiled and willful personality in order to make Sue Wamming fall in love with me. I did far too many wrong things. Step by step, pushing myself into the abyss. Soon Wamming enjoys the benefits. I bring him with complete peace of mind. Yet, he stands on the moral high ground to criticize me. In the original book, it was also at this banquet that, dissatisfied with Sue Weighing openly bringing Rao Ja to appear before everyone and leaving me humiliated, I lost all face while Suing was away. I pushed Rao Ja into the pool. The incident was photographed by someone with ulterior motives and posted online, then further manipulated and fueled. They said I looked down on the female lead because I was privileged by my family background was subjected to an online smear campaign. The one family stock also fell as a result. That also marked the beginning of my tragedy. Rao Ja was being harassed by a pot-bellied man, and Sue Weighing had no idea where he had gone off to. Sir, please respect yourself. The man kept holding on to Rao Jia's hand, his tone frivolous. You've even spilled water on my clothes. These are couture. Can TT even be bought outside? Do you think one sari is enough? The man's gaze at her grew increasingly blatant and malicious. Or spend the night with me, and we'll call it payment for the clothes. Seeing that Are Ja looked pure and delicate with no one else around, he assumed she was brought here by some rich young man for entertainment. So lust got the better of him, and he deliberately bumped into her. Rao Ja was flushed with anger on the verge of tears. At this moment, isolated and helpless, I stepped forward. Let go. Seeing someone ruin his good time, the man was about to fly into a rage. But when he saw it was a woman, the curse that had been on the tip of his tongue was swallowed back down. His eyes lit up. Jo, another one. Looks like I'm in for some real luck with women tonight. I sneered and reminded him, Sir, if you still want to make a name for yourself in Hisher, take back what you just said. Otherwise, I absolutely have the power to make sure you 1TT be able to get by in Hisher. The man took it lightly and thought I was just putting on airs. Such big talk. Who do you think you are? I raised an eyebrow and smiled. Perhaps you should know the one family. The man shook his head, and when he made out my face, his expression suddenly turned deathly pale. The smug, arrogant look from moments ago vanished without a trace. So, it's the Juan family's young lady. I'm sorry. Everything I said just now was drunken nonsense. Please forgive me. Miss Juan. The man kept bowing and apologizing. I ignored the man and looked at the heroine. Are you okay? She shook her head, indicating that she was fine. I glanced at the man with contempt. Get lost. The man fled in a panic. Rao Jia let out a sigh of relief and thanked me quietly. Thank you. Although I have no favorable impression of the female lead. But when faced with a strange man harassing a woman, I can't just stand by and do nothing. I turned to leave, and she called out to me, softly, Miss Juan, I'd like to talk to you. Glasses clinked and crossed in a lively bustle, while soft, melodious music drifted through the hall. The fountain danced and changed in countless ways to the rhythm of the music, suddenly remembering the incident at this banquet from the book. I cautiously stepped back to keep my distance from her. Miss Rollo, I know what you want to say. My liking Su Wang is already in the past. I won't interfere in your relationship anymore. Please rest assured. Rao Jia grabbed my wrist and said anxiously, but your two families are still going to marry into each other. Her eyes instantly turned red and she looked at me with tears welling up. Her voice carried a humble, pleading tone. Miss Juan, since you no longer like whamming, could you persuade the elders on both sides not to tie you two together? I know this is very abrupt, but for the sake of you and Wayne growing up together, please let us be together. Has the female lead's brain been squeezed in a door? My eye twitched, and I was quite helpless. Luxury marriages are intertwined with interests. Even if I don't agree, I still need Su Whamming to stand united with me. If he had even a little backbone, he would do everything possible to make the Su family acknowledge you. Their biggest emotional obstacle was never me at all. It was the mismatch in our family backgrounds, her parents' opposition, and the entanglements of interest. Her face turned pale, and her delicate little features looked even more pitiful and endearing. Miss Ralph, please let go of me. Several pairs of eyes turned toward us. I didn't want to get tangled up with her any further, so I shook off her hand. She staggered back a few steps. Behind her was a massive musical fountain pool. She was wearing a pair of nearly 7 centimeters high heels, and although her gown was gorgeous, it made movement inconvenient. She stepped on the hem of her dress and toppled backward. Watch out. I quickly grabbed her wrist with lightning speed. She ended up pulling me down, and we both fell into the pool. The gown was cumbersome. Once in the water, it grew heavy and got in the way. R.A. Jack couldn't swim, and she kept flailing and struggling in the water. Pool water surged into my nose and mouth, and I struggled to drag her toward the shore. Everyone noticed something was wrong and hurried over to help with the rescue. The hall was in total chaos. After much effort, they finally managed to pull Raujia and me up. When Su Shiran heard the news and came over, he saw that it was me and immediately took off his coat and draped it over me. Are you all right? Su Wang helped Jia up and started blaming me without giving me a chance to explain. Waning, you're far too arrogant. How dare you push Jia into the water in front of so many people? If you have a problem, come at me. What does it mean to bully her? Water dripped from the damp ends of my hair. My clothes were soaked through, and when the cold wind blew, the chills sank deep into my bones. I pushed away the towel the waiter had brought over and snapped without restraint. Su Whamming, if your eyes are useless, donate them. Did you see me push her? Rao Jia tugged at his sleeve and hurriedly explained you've misunderstood. I accidentally stepped on my dress. Miss One was trying to save me, which is why she got pulled in and fell into the pool. Sui Ming placed his hands on her shoulders to comfort her. You Titi have to be afraid to tell the truth because of her status. As long as I'm here, I won't let you be wronged. Suguaming fronet taitli, his eyes openly revealing disgust. Apologize to her right now. Apologize. I held back my anger with all my might, just so I wouldn't storm up and slap him. I didn't push her. Why should I apologize? One of the ladies present explained on my behalf. It really wasn't Miss Juan. It was your companion who accidentally stepped on the hem of her dress and fell in. Miss Juan was only trying to kindly catch her, but ended up falling into the water with her. Why are you blaming people without even knowing the facts? Unhappy to see Su Wamming falsely accusing me for no reason. The lady added, just now there was even an old man flirting with your companion, and it was Miss Wan who stepped in to help. Su Wang was publicly called out and left with no way to save face, his expression growing even darker. Would she be that kind? Who knows whether this wasn't deliberately set up by her people? He was convinced I was the one who had pushed Rao Jia into the water, showing no regard for my dignity at all, and his words only grew uglier. Su Siron, standing nearby, darkened his expression. Su Guang, speak with evidence. Su Guang looked at Su Siron, then at me. He sneered, and his words were harsh and cutting. What? Couldn't seduce me, so you went off to seduce my elder brother instead. His eyes were full of mockery, as if I had betrayed him. Brother, do you like picking up what I don't want that much? I stepped forward and slapped him. Sue Wei Ming, watch your mouth. I'm really disgusted by my past self for having liked you. You're nothing but trash. A man like this deserves to be the male lead. Waning, how dare you hit me? Su Wang covered his face, unable to believe I would actually hit him. I lifted my eyes, meeting his gaze with disgust. So what if I hit you? If you like framing people so much, then why shouldn't I deserve the reputation? With a sudden burst of force, I shoved him. The pool splashed as a result, and Su Wang fell into the water. You really are something else, always getting me into trouble every other day. The dispute between Su Wang and me at the banquet made the trending searches. The media headlines were vicious and cutting. That night's video was edited, processed, and polished. I became the female lead who, driven by love, turned to hate, pushed her fiancé into the water. My dad was so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. Are you trying to anger me to death before you'll stop? The company is currently planning a major project with the Su family, and at such a critical moment, you pull this stunt on me. It's all the media exaggerating things. They don't understand the truth at all. Does the truth matter? What matters are the losses the company is suffering behind this. Its reputation. I closed my eyes and bore his torrent of accusations. It was like this again. He never cared about the truth. What he cared about was always his own dignity. Calm down, and let's talk this through properly. You frightened the child. My mother handed him a cup of tea, trying to soothe him. He snatched it away and smashed it hard onto the floor. In an instant, the cup shattered into pieces, and the warm tea splashed onto the tops of my feet. My mother staggered back 2 steps in fear. It's all because you spoiled her. You raised such a good for nothing. He pointed at my mother and cursed at her, venting all the ridicule he had endured outside lately and all the setbacks at work onto her. My mother lowered her head and said nothing, enduring his relentless abuse without a shred of dignity. Even in front of us children, my dad showed no restraint at all. It only got worse and worse over the course of more than 20 years. Enough already. When will this end? The mess I made. I'll take your scolding and punishment. Why are you insulting my mom? I could no longer tolerate him blaming my mother like that. So, I stepped in front of her to protect her. He froze for a moment, finding it unbelievable that I would dare to resist him. Fine, fine, fine. Very well. Your wings have grown strong, and now you dare talk back to me. To be frank, I'll tell you as well right now. There are 2 choices before you. First, marry the younger son of the Su family, but I advise you to choose the first option. After all, you and Su Wamming grew up together as childhood sweethearts and know each other well. This is your best choice. My father's gaze at me suddenly turned unfamiliar, carrying a look of Schadenfreude, and the words he spoke were icy to the bone. Second, marry the only son of the Jiang family. That child has been bedridden and paralyzed for years, although he has a bad temper. The Jiang family is powerful and influential, so marrying into it won't leave you at a disadvantage. You are the daughter of the Wan family, so you should at least make some contribution to the family. I don't agree. I'm giving you a choice between 2 options, not asking for any others. We've fed and clothed you in luxury for so many years. It's time for you to repay the family. Suddenly, I felt sad. In his eyes, a daughter would always be worth less than profit. I'm your daughter. How can you treat me like this? born into a family like this. We enjoy wealth and privilege that ordinary people do not. And naturally, we must also bring benefits to the family. I have known all this since I was little. I just didn't expect him to treat me as a tool for exchanging benefits. My mom tugged at my sleeve and gently coaxed me. Sweetie, listen to your dad. Don't you always like that boy from the Sioux family? I shook off her hand, and the emotions I'd been holding back suddenly burst out. I don't like him. Why must it be the Sioux family? Hayshire isn't the only city with a wealthy family. Sioux Wang's ability is nowhere near Sioux Shiren's, and the infighting in the Sioux family is serious. Why should we wade into muddy waters? I paused and finally said the truth I had been too afraid to face in my heart. Or is it that you don't care whether I live or die at all? No matter whether Sioux Wang is the ultimate winner, as long as you get what you want, you can sacrifice me without hesitation. Huh. A slap struck my face. It stung fiercely. Ever since I was little, my grades had always been excellent, but the spotlight was always on my older brother. He was so stingy that he couldn't even be bothered to give me a single word of praise. He was especially busy, so busy that even dealing with his daughter's matters felt like a waste of time. My timid mother, who had depended on my father for half her life and then pinned all her hopes on her son for the second half, what she said most often was, "Sawing, you're a girl. In the future, the family will have to rely on your elder brother, so you need to listen to him more." Whenever I got into trouble, and he happened to be in a bad mood, my mom became his punching bag, and he would loudly berate her. "You taught her yourself to be such a good daughter. She's getting more and more outrageous." She didn't dare to argue with my dad, just as my dad openly kept those women outside, and she didn't dare make a scene either. When I found out that my dad had a mistress, I was so angry I wanted to confront him, but she held me back. In a family like ours, which man doesn't have a little fun outside? As long as he knows to come home, that's enough. I never understood it, even though I'm your child, too. Why wouldn't you let me join the company and take over the business like my older brother? Is it because I'm a girl and I'm destined to be just a stepping stone for my brother's future? An indescribable pain spread from her heart throughout her entire body. The eldest brother, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. My older brother is indeed outstanding and humble, but he's also genuinely selfish. As long as his own interests aren't affected, he can stand by and do nothing about anything. What are you talking about? We feed and support you well at home. What more could you possibly be dissatisfied with? I looked at him. Maybe my gaze was too serious. He guiltily turned his head away, not daring to meet my eyes. How could the beneficiaries possibly not know that they were the ones profiting? They just took everything for granted. One day, when you resist, they will instead blame you. Warning, you're not a child anymore. Don't be so unreasonable. I interrupted him. Unreasonable, willful, spoiled, domineering. Aren't these all the labels you forced onto me? Everyone outside says. The one family head is far-sighted and astute. The lady of the house is gentle and refined. The eldest son is outstanding and exceptional, and only the youngest daughter is worthless. Ask yourselves honestly, how many times from childhood to now have you embarrassed me in public? And after I got angry, you pretended to soothe me. Shut up. I exposed their true colors, and my father turned red with anger. You're crazy. What on earth are you talking about? My older brother also tried to stop me from going on. At first, I still tried to explain, but as they became increasingly aggressive, my emotions became more and more uncontrollable. The victim became hysterical, while the abuser turned into the victim. At this point, the tears that had been welling up in my eyes finally fell. So, it turns out there really are parents who don't love their own children. I had a huge argument with them and tore off their hypocritical mask. In the end, my dad kicked me out and ordered everyone to stop all my cards. They are forcing me to compromise. Fortunately, after awakening, I immediately saved up some money and bought a property just in case in this world anyone can treat me as a supporting character except myself. The internal strife in the Sioux family has already reached a point of utter turmoil, and under such circumstances, Rao Jia is even less likely to have any chance of entering the Su family. After Renuccio talked to her, she no longer insisted. She smartly took the check, neatly resigned, and chose to leave. Su, weighing frantically, searched the entire city for 3 days. There was no trace of her. The two families formally issued a declaration of marriage alliance. My family contacted me repeatedly, half threatening and half coaxing me to go back. I was so annoyed that I blocked all their contact information. They didn't know my current address, so they couldn't find me for the time being. After Su Weiing had gone crazy for half a month, he suddenly gave in and agreed to marry me. The male lead could find anyone except whether he found the female leading. You must be over the moon right now. What kind of drug did you give my mom? Forcing Jita to leave, and then forcing me to marry you. I looked at Su Weiing, who was roaring at me like a mentally challenged idiot. I couldn't understand how someone like this male lead could eventually end up with the power to stand toe-to-toe with the main villain, Su Siron. His golden finger was just way too overpowered. Su Guang, I suggest you go soak up some sun when you have nothing to do and let the water in your brain evaporate. You don't dare defy your parents, and you don't dare give up your privileged life to pursue what you call love. You have such favorable conditions, yet you don't make good use of them. Clearly, it's your own problem, yet you take it for granted and shift all the blame and responsibility onto others, trying to wash away your own incompetence. Suning was so angry, his eyes nearly split with rage, his chest heaving. Say that again. I remained unhurried, continuing to pour oil on the fire. Didn't I make myself clear whamming? You coward, I sneered. If I were you, I'd be at the company working hard to expand the business and build my network, not here losing my mind. Did Su Weiing really not know that Renuccio gave money to Rao Jia? He needed someone to take the fall so he could brainwash himself into believing that his previous efforts weren't a joke. He left Su Weiming speechless, and he slunk away in defeat. The infighting within the Su family grew increasingly intense, and my parents had made up their minds to marry me to Su Wamming. My dad used his connections to force me to go back overnight. All the businesses under my name were forced to shut down for repairs. He thought that by cutting off my retreat, I would have no choice but to give in, go home, and follow their arrangements, letting them control me. Unfortunately for him, he got it wrong. Because of this, I became even more determined to leave the Ruan family. After I had been fighting with my family for nearly 2 months, my mom contacted me using a new number. Her birthday was coming up in a few days. My dad and my older brother are away on business, and they won't be coming home for a while. She was worried that I wouldn't be doing well living on my own away from home. She wanted me to go home and have a meal with her over the phone. She repeatedly promised that she wouldn't force my marriage to Su Wamming for my mother. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to be ruthless, though she is weak-willed. Over the years, she has at least been a qualified mother and has never wronged me. But when I drank that bowl of soup laced with drugs, I never expected the one who would stab me in the back to be. It turned out to be the person I cared about most. When I opened my eyes again, I was already lying in the hospital. You're awake. Su Shiren stood against the wall with his arms crossed under the dim light. His profile looked especially handsome and cold. I turned over and ignored him, closing my eyes. A bitter ache slowly welled up in my heart. My biological mother, in order to make me give in to this marriage, actually went so far as to drug me. He cleared his throat, trying to catch my attention. Hey, I saved you at least, and that's the attitude you give me. I let out a cold snort. Do you want me to write you a thank you letter and have it published in the newspaper to commend your good deed? My words were too harsh, and his voice was a little displeased. Warning, could you have a little conscience? If I hadn't rushed over in time, your mom would have already sent you to Su Weiing's bed. I was only trying to help, and you're treating my kindness like dirt. In the original book, it wasn't until Su Shiren took control of the company's power and became the Su family's new heir. A divorce agreement was also placed in front of me. Only then did I realize that everything had been part of Su Shiren's scheme. After I no longer had any value, he ruthlessly discarded me. After the divorce, The little savings and property I had were all swindled away, and I had no choice but to wander the streets. Was that also Shio Rant's handiwork behind the scenes? How am I supposed to believe that someone who indirectly sent me to my death would be kind enough to save me? His lips pressed into a straight line, and he let out a deep sigh. Actually, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about, but you've never given me the chance. I know it may sound unbelievable, like a fairy tale. Spit it out. He paused for 2 seconds, then said, seriously, I've been reborn, and I know you're an awakened one. I was instantly struck like a bolt from the blue, my heart pounding violently. What? I tried my best to suppress the fear in my heart, but my voice still trembled uncontrollably, hoping it was just my imagination. A warning. You didn't hear wrong. I'd been reborn. Sue Shiren told me that he had been reborn twice. The first time was not long after he got married, while he was on a business trip out of town. Ren such deliberately set him up in a car accident, leaving him critically injured and in a coma. He had originally been lying in the ICU, but when he woke up, he discovered that he had returned to a week before the accident. This time he avoided the car accident, carefully defend against the other side's overt and covert attacks. After everything finally settled down, Su Wang was ousted from Su Group by his father, and Ren Sachukyo's relationship with Su's father broke down as they went their separate ways. When the power of Su Group was within easy reach, heaven played another joke on him. He was reborn once again. He had returned to before I gave the wrong medicine on his second rebirth. He realized that he was living in a world constructed by the author. Unfortunately, he didn't know the entire plot of the whole book, but he knew that I was an awakened, and only I knew how the later story would unfold. So, in order to completely bring down Su's father and Su Wamming, he repeatedly came to me, hoping to learn from me the direction the story would take next, so he could avoid the unfavorable scenes in advance. Why do you think I'd agree to cooperate with you? He seemed very sure and let out a soft sigh. Do you have a choice? Your parents were able to use you once, and there will be a second time. His tone rose slightly. Only I can give you what you want. For example, free you from the restraints of the one family. I weakly clenched the blanket, my chest seeming to be covered by a heavy pressure, making every breath suffocating. He was right. I had no choice. I just wasn't willing to accept it. The helplessness, grief, and despair that had built up since awakening all turned into fury, stabbing at every nerve in my body. The walls of my heart, so painstakingly built, collapsed overnight. I ripped the needle out of the back of my hand, got out of bed. He hurried out of the ward without caring about anything else. Su Shiran was startled by my sudden movement. A fine, continuous rain had started outside, and Han's winters were especially damp and cold. The gusts of cold wind were piercing. Su Shiran caught up with me under an umbrella and grabbed my arm. It's raining outside. What the hell is wrong with you? Come back with me now. I shook him off and mocked him mercilessly. Sueshiron, what are you pretending to be a good person for? Are you acting out a redemption story or something? Do you think I'll be forever grateful just because you saved me? His brows were tightly furrowed as he struggled to suppress his emotions. Anger and despair had long since taken over my mind. What novel? What awakening? What female supporting character? Why should I be the pawn you can use whenever you want? He held the umbrella over my head. Be good. Let's go back first. If you stay like this, you'll get sick. I knocked away the umbrella and let the rain beat down on both of us. Aren't you curious about how the rest of the story goes? Then I'll tell you, you can't beat Su Wang. The final winner is still him. Even if you're highly capable, you'll always be kept one step below him, spending your whole life in helplessness and resentment just because you're the male supporting role. Ignoring my image, I hurled myself at him in hysterics, venting the resentment in my heart. I have nothing to lose. I've got nothing at all. So I'm not afraid to go toe-to-toe with you. Worst case, we all go down together. He leaned forward and grabbed my arm, wanting to calm down. Okay. My voice was sore, it hardly sounded like my own, and my eyes were swollen and stinging unbearably. I couldn't even tell whether it was rain or tears. I had clearly tried my best to stay away from the male and female leads. Yet, in the end, I still couldn't escape the plot. I stared at the surging river beneath the bridge. A terrifying thought flashed through my mind. If I jumped, would everything be able to start over? While Sushiron was still reeling, I quickly climbed over the railing and jumped without hesitation. The moment I was engulfed by the river, I still vaguely heard Sue Shiren's heart-wrenching cry coming from the overpass. I didn't die, and the plot didn't reset to the beginning. Instead, I broke a leg. I became silent, spending long stretches of time staring blankly out the window. Sushi was very busy, but he still made time to come to the hospital and keep me company. He never mentioned anything about the original plot again. He carefully and thoughtfully arranged for someone to take care of me. Though he called it care, it was actually a subtle form of surveillance. He was afraid that something would happen if my mood suddenly changed. How could that be? One foolish thing is enough to do once. After days of persistent rain, the sky finally cleared up. I sat by the window, the sunlight warming my body, and felt a long mist warmth. All the inner turmoil and noise were cast to the back of my mind in this moment. At last, I spoke the first words I had said during this time. I will tell you everything from the original book that has to do with you, without holding anything back. He was somewhat incredulous. I turned around and slowly raised my eyelids, saying calmly, Sushiron, let's work together. The world is bustling with people coming and going, all for profit. The world is crowded and chaotic, all driven by gain, isn't it? Just using each other. Then let's use each other before we cooperate. I also have a request. I've had enough of living as a supporting character without dignity. Very quickly, under the plot I provided, Sue Shiran successfully avoided the scenes that were unfavorable to him. The cooperation project between the Wan family and Sue Corporation hit a major snag and got stuck at a crucial juncture. The investors saw no hope for the future and immediately broke the contract and withdrew their funding. My dad had originally poured a huge amount of manpower and resources into this project, only for it to end up as an unfinished disaster. The One family stock plummeted sharply, and several of the company's veterans hurriedly sold off their shares in an effort to protect themselves. My dad fell ill from frustration and stress and was admitted to the hospital. The Sue family has gone from bad to worse, with one incident after another following the project's funding chain collapse. Accounting issues also arose. Sue Shiren is truly ruthless. He could even scheme against his own biological father. Sue's father was ultimately taken away by the police for investigation. What awaits him will be the punishment of the law. Seeing the house empty, Rin Sukio with lightning speed proposed divorce to Sue's father to cut ties. She voluntarily left the marriage with nothing. The Sue family was in complete disarray. At a critical moment, Sue Shiren was entrusted with a vital task in a crisis. He became the new head of the Sue family. The Sue family was reshuffled, truly worthy of being the biggest boss in the book. 2 years after the crisis had passed, Sue Shiren seized the opportunity and, despite the economic downturn, successfully secured several major projects beginning with the letter G. He rose overnight to become a rising star in the city. So much so that even the Wan family did not dare offend him. The airport was crowded with people, and the planes taking off and landing were just like life. Sue Shiren's face was pale and his eyes were still bloodshot. I dreamed of the ending of the original book last night. His voice trembled slightly. I dreamed that you died. His gaze revealed endless sorrow. If I said that from beginning to end, I never meant to drag you into this dispute. My ultimate goal was only to bring down my father and Renukio. I have never regretted marrying you. I just didn't know. I gave him a faint smile to comfort him. It's all in the past. He opened his mouth and in the end asked, will you come back? I shook my head. I'm not sure either. I've been stuck in this quagmire for too long over the years. I have to break free and start over. The outcome was already decided. Sue Shiren became the final winner. After this incident, Sue Wayne grew up overnight and put away his spoiled, privileged ways. Recently, he has been spending a lot of time with the wealthy young woman favored by Sue's mother. Rin Sachuchio was still unwilling to accept it. The huge piece of fat meat had been snatched away right under her nose. My dad couldn't withstand this blow and suffered a stroke. The Juan family's company was taken over entirely by my older brother. The shares that the Juan family's old shareholders sold off were all bought by me at a low price. The crisis had passed. Instead, I became the company's largest shareholder. My dad had only just been discharged from the hospital not long ago, and after finding out, he got so angry that he ended up back in the hospital, even in the ambulance. He still didn't forget to curse me as an ungrateful ingrate. My mom tried to take the sentimental route again and wanted to persuade me to give the shares I held to my brother. I exposed her without the slightest mercy. In the past 2 years, aside from major company matters that required a shareholder to show up, I have never met them in private. I no longer want to keep up this so-called family bond. Susiron. I lifted my eyelids and said seriously, "Do you still remember the condition I asked of you before we started working together?" He nodded slightly. "Before Renuccio had joined forces with the Juan family to deal with you. But I also helped you avoid an unfavorable plotline and smoothly take control of the Sioux family. After all, I'm a member of the Juan family, so we're even. I hope that if the Juan family offends you in the future, as long as it doesn't violate the law and doesn't hurt you, I ask that you show some leniency." A faint, almost imperceptible smile appeared at the corners of his lips. "In your eyes, am I really that narrow-minded?" I couldn't help but grumble inwardly. In the original book, you were a vengeful villain who repaid even the slightest grievance. The Juan family nearly ended up going bankrupt in the end. I'm now the largest shareholder of the Juan family. Even my brother is working for me now. If you target the Juan family, the one who will suffer the greatest losses is me. Fine, I promise. They looked at each other in silence. After awakening, I thought I would hate this cheap husband. Maybe it was because Sushi got involved later on. The plot did not develop as described in the book. I couldn't take my anger out on him for no reason. I haven't been unaware of his feelings for me these past 2 years. Unfortunately, I just can't bring myself to like him. After all, he was also one of the main culprits behind my death in the book. The boarding announcement sounded. I waved the plane ticket in my hand. I should go. He suddenly stepped forward and hugged me, burying his head on my shoulder. His voice trembled with grief. "Of course, I'm sorry." Scalding tears fell onto the back of my neck. I froze. "Wait, why are you crying all of a sudden? We're just in a brief working relationship. Our feelings haven't deepened to that extent yet." It took a long while before he finally let go of me, his eyes still a little red. "Goodbye." I nodded in response. "Goodbye." After saying that, he left without looking back. The plane pierced through the clouds, heading toward its destination. I too welcomed a new beginning. After hearing this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We look forward to hearing from you.